Are recording on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023 at 6:36 p.m. Eastern Time with the one and only Mr. Mike Ford, who's been on here several times before. And I realized in the thumbnail, I put YF-12, not Y-12. And I think my mind is stuck on the Lockheed Martin Interceptor version of the SR-71, which is the YF-12. But the thumbnail is made. I had no more time. And so I put it up knowing full well I'm an idiot. And it's going to stay there. That's my blemish. It's not a Cold War interceptor that's on fire. It is indeed a uranium plant. But real quick, Mr. Ford, please introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, what your background is, and then we can jump into the uranium fire.
Yeah, I'm Mike Ford. I've been in the nuclear industry participant for close to 40 years. I'm a former political appointee for the state of Texas for George Bush, Rick Perry. Don't hold that against me. And that was for I was the former chairman of the Texas Radiation Advisory Board. I was also the former inaugural chair of a interstate compact that dealt with or still deals with radioactive waste. So the issues of nuclear, the issues of radiological mishaps and whatnot are near and dear to my heart.
And you also have awesome hair that I'm always jealous
Thank you.
of.
Thank
and
you.
You've got a much better broadcasting voice than me.
I don't know. You're catching up, brother.
Very Mike Ford. My voice is all. You've got a deep, commanding. I would listen to you on a 1960s news broadcast and be like, I believe this man.
Well, I'll have to parlay that into a broader broadcasting future, I guess.
Do with that what you will. But so the uranium fire. So I just barely glanced at your text before we started. You said it's basically a lack of upgrades from World War II.
Yeah, so we're dealing with a 9212 building at Y-12 is a huge sprawling facility. It's had a few facilities added on since it was built in the 1940s. Some modernization, some upgrades. It's been in the crosshairs of the watchdog for the Department of Energy. It's a Department of Energy facility, NNSA, National Nuclear Security Administration, which the NNSA within the DOE is the organization that has the mission for nuclear weapons and the maintenance and upkeep and operability of nuclear weapons. And the organization called the Defense Nuclear Facility Safety Board, or also the DNFSB, they are really the only oversight organization for the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy has a very interesting challenge. I'll say them. I have many friends in the DOE, and their challenge is that they are the owner of these facilities. They are typically the customer of all the contractors there, and then they have an oversight mission, and those are difficult to separate often. But they typically do a fairly decent job. Back in the days of Manhattan Project, and certainly up until really Hazel O'Leary and the Clinton and the declassification of a lot of the weapon mission under the Clinton administration. Hazel O'Leary, she really opened up basically everything at that point in time. Just to give a little bit of credit to the Clinton administration, where you can, and to be honest about that. But yeah, so it's so the DNFSB has come in, and this facility has been in the crosshairs of the DNFSB. Their job is to point out concerns and problems, and basically as an oversight organization.
What's the name of it? The DNFFs? What is it?
Yeah, Defense Nuclear Facility Safety Board, gotcha. DNFSB. And you can search their site, and there's probably over the last decade, there's probably about 20 reports that have been written on this facility alone, the 9212 facility. It has been slated to have been replaced in 2 years by a what's called the uranium processing facility, and its mission, 9212's mission, is to do chemical processing of uranium and many other things. It's mainly types of uranium that are associated with the nuclear weapons program, highly enriched to depleted and everything in between. And so there was a six, basically the UPF, the uranium processing facility, was about supposedly going to be about $6 billion, $6.5 billion, somewhere around there. And there was a red team review back in 2014, on now almost 10 years ago, that said that that's too much and we need to do something different. And so they offered an alternative to that. But really, it's been a bit of a stumbling block, and I know that folks in the DOE would like to have this place replaced and upgraded, but they don't. I'm not exactly sure what the stumbling point is right now, except for cost and scope. And so it could be interesting to see if it is replaced. What happened there in the facility is not yet known. What I would say is, based on my background and working with glove boxes, which are some people in the pharmaceutical industry will have heard about glove boxes. I'm sure you've heard about glove boxes.
No.
In the oh, you haven't? Okay. Well, in the nuclear industry, they use these well, this equipment, it's called a glove box, and basically what it's constructed of, in the case for things like plutonium and uranium.
Oh, and it's got the entrances on, like,
Yeah, you've got the space for your hands to move in.
okay, yeah, okay, yeah, I do.
And you have and it'll in the nuclear industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, it's just to maintain cleanliness and you're trying to not have humans contaminate the drugs or whatever it is that they're producing. It's in sort of a clean environment. In the nuclear industry is to protect the personnel, to protect the environment, and so on and so forth. And so what can happen in a in a glove box, most of the time, when you're machining uranium metals, plutonium metals, a lot of times you'll develop these, what they call fines, FINES, which are shavings of the highly enriched, very pure metals. And those fines are what they call pyrophoric. They can ignite in air very quickly and easily, and then they can start a fire. And so as a result of that, in those glove boxes, you'll have what they call a quenching gas. It can be any type of gas, but it's typically a nitrogen, something to lower the oxygen level, to keep that combustion from occurring. And they also have procedures that they use to control the amount of fines and other debris that they create in their processes. So in this case, this is completely conjecture on my mind, but there was an exposure. It sounds like somehow, some way, in this refining process, they've got some loose materials that got exposed to oxygen, too much oxygen, and ignited. Typically, what they'll have nearby is something called Metal-X, which is an extinguishing agent for metallic metal fires. And so if they had that close and it was nearby and whatnot, then the fire would have been extinguished fairly quickly. Given the fact that they resumed operations. I think the fire occurred at 8:41 a.m., somewhere around there, Eastern time, and then they had people back into the facility by 1 o'clock that afternoon. Then that's a very number one, a fire in that facility is, especially a uranium fire, is huge. And then number two, it is something that's, there's going to be a type A or type B investigation. The type A investigation is where you're going to have, maybe a fatality occurred. So since no fatalities occurred, it may be a type B investigation, but it's a very, very rigorous and thorough investigation. And so I would assume that that type of investigation would be taking place, just because of the fact that, fires, are not allowed to happen. And if it had expanded or anything like that, then you've got a huge inventory of materials there that could have been involved. So good for them. I just have to, compliment them on getting it taken care of. I know they were probably challenged in the facility itself, just given its age. But it was a good job by the folks there at Y-12 to get it under control and get it rapidly under control.
That's terrifying. Those two words don't go together. Uranium fire.
Well, there's we move a lot of uranium around. We have a lot of uranium sitting next to nuclear power reactors, and so people can be very flippant about the whole thing about, this is there's no big deal there or whatever. But, there are typically three different types of metals that are pyrophoric. There's for nuclear power, there's um, um, zirconium hydrides, basically anything that you would have a metal with a hydride. So plutonium hydride, uranium hydride, a zirconium hydride. Those in a fine form are pyrophoric, and if they're exposed to, I don't know if you remember the release that occurred at the waste isolation pilot plant back in 2014. The plutonium release. It's the underground transuranic waste disposal facility, and they had a plutonium bearing waste container, basically a 55-gallon drum, catch fire underground, and there was a release into the waste facility and also into the environment above topside. And that was kind of the same thing that happened. It got it oxidized to the point of where a flame began, and then it was Katie barred the door. Unfortunately, they didn't get the door barred, and they released a good puff to the environment. So, and that was in excess of a $2 billion cleanup just from that little simple thing. And that was just they swapped out and they used some as opposed to the standard commercial kitty litter they used as a drying agent. They used an organic kitty litter, which was flammable. So
Fucking hippies.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, another green initiative gone wrong for the federal government. But in this case, this is really a good news story. The thing that people should be looking for is the modernization that should have already taken place, but desperately needs to take place at this facility. And maybe this will be, another kick in the pants that they need to get that done.
One little fart cost $2 billion.
Yeah, that was the cleanup in New Mexico, just outside of Carlsbad, New Mexico, at the WIP facility. It's called the WIP. Yeah, it's called the WIP facility, Waste Isolation Pilot Plant. It's in a salt dome that hasn't had any kind of seismic activity for a few billion years, and which is why it was chosen there to deposit that transuranic waste there at that facility.
That being said, I mean, kind of unrelated to this, I still think we need to go full steam ahead nuclear, right? I mean, in
Yeah,
terms
we
of
do.
energy, it's still, the disasters are few and far between.
Yeah, I think what this really does. I mean, there's been a lot of kind of what I would call Pollyannic boosterism in the nuclear industry in terms of taking some of the the safety in the nuclear industry is, and the lack of incidents and the lack of disasters in the nuclear industry, given the fact that there have been in the Chernobyls and the Fukushimas and the 3 Mile Island, which was essentially a non-event in terms from what happened outside because of the controls that existed inside. You know, we've kind of lost sight of the fact that it doesn't really take, I mean, Three Mile Island was a non-event, and yet it killed the nuclear industry for 25 years. There were no additional nuclear plants built for another 25 years after 3 Mile Island, and so it doesn't really take much at all uh, for a death knell to occur. And then Fukushima happened, and and the Germans absolutely lost their mind and shuttered 6 perfectly good nuclear power plants, and now they're completely reliant on or were reliant on Russian natural gas until the United States blew that up. But yeah, they shuttered 6 perfectly good nuclear power plants. I think several other European countries did the same thing in response to Fukushima, and it was just a disaster for the nuclear industry. It never should have happened, because those are all net zero producing facilities there. So we have to be careful in the United States with the whole concept of this boosterism. This nuclear energy is perfectly safe. There's no hazards. We have to maintain the healthy respect for the hazards that are there with any nuclear enterprise and any nuclear operation, and treat them accordingly. And if you do that the right way, then it can be a great asset. But if you're cavalier with it, then it's gonna jump up and bite you.
Yeah, I mean, treated correctly, we can have like near infinite energy. I mean, what do you think about what do you think about that fusion breakthrough like a month ago, 2 months ago? Time just blurs together. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's promising. The whole you're still talking about a micropulse. Being able to sustain it over a long period of time. That breakthrough has not occurred, but just the fact that it was sustained for the limited amount of time that it was is a very positive thing, because it was definitely a milestone that was reached. But it's if there was to be a breakthrough, then you're talking about probably another 30, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years before you actually have a fusion reactor sitting someplace, producing energy, given the pace of our regulatory agencies to be able to. So if that happened, then the Nuclear Regulatory Commission would have to hire people who are conversant in fusion, and to be able to be regulators and license a fusion reactor that would produce power. And so that's their challenge right now. Is there's lots and lots of new small modular reactor technologies coming online, and our regulators are working to become conversant in these new technologies, but they are not where they have been highly expert in previous decades in the standard boiling water reactor or pressurized water reactors that we have in the United States. These brand new ones that are coming online, they do not have as much expertise as the people who are submitting their applications for licensing.
Because I'm a total Neanderthal with this, would you just need, from my massive experience from SimCity as a 10-year-old, I know that you only need one fusion reactor to power your entire empire. Would you just have to build like one big one? Or would this just be like, no, it would be a supplement, but or is it that much of a game changer? Or like a handful of them and you just like power in the country?
Well, I think the difference is the input is the fuel, and then the waste. Those are the two predominant. Whether you can scale up or scale down. The whole thing is just being able to confine the reaction, and that has proven to be very challenging, and it has to be done on an enormous scale. I think there is some research being done on scaling down fusion, and some researchers have made certain claims in terms of breakthroughs in that regard. But there's no one who's done made a provable or reproducible fusion reactor. Some people have talked about cold fusion and all that stuff, but there's no one that's really been able to demonstrate that they've succeeded on a smaller scale than what's being done right now, like the ITER,
Eater,
which is
yeah.
going, yeah, which is in Europe. Um, they've got the Russians. It's a European and Russian project. The Russians just delivered one of the enormous magnets that was going to be used for the confinement system. I think they're on tap to have a couple more deliveries there if things don't go sideways with the Ukraine business. But there's some promising movements on several fronts there. But I don't know that it's the complete game changer where we can just say we're going to shut down everything else and then just have this fusion reactor. If that turns out to be the case, that'll be fantastic. But I think we're really kind of we're thinking of maybe Nikola Tesla technology in that regard, as opposed to what we might be able to find from fusion.
In the final couple minutes I have you, how are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, doing good. Yeah, it's as we talked about in our last podcast, we had I'm on this health thing.
The spinach
This
gauntlet.
Yeah. I haven't embraced fully, I haven't fully embraced the spinach gauntlet, but
Embrace the spinach.
I will say that the steak salads are working pretty well.
Hell yeah. Same
We've been
idea.
doing the just steak, and it's a spinach and arugula salad. So I am there is a hat tip to this whole spinach thing. So that and some green smoothies and some intermittent fasting, some uh, freezing cold showers, and some saunas and whatnot. So it's the working on the whole front there. And I took a step backward, for your audience. I was at the 260, then I went up to 265, and then I
That's fine.
realized, man, I actually have to move on a daily basis. So I've gotten very accustomed to the whole COVID thing,
Yeah.
this
Uh,
Zoom
yeah, same. I've
thing, and then the lack of movement, and you can just do most of your stuff from your house, and but I've got, I don't know, let's see if I can do this fairly quickly. But I've got behind me this where is it, that thing right there?
yeah.
That's an e-board. That's
Yeah.
a meepo e-board. And so I was first a skateboarder back in the 70s, and where I first got my first skateboard. And so this is my son introduced me to these meepo, and this is a meepo Hurricane I've got here. And so it's a blast. So I don't get on it enough, but I do love it. So it's been blowing around here, and it hasn't been very hospitable weather for riding, but it's starting to get back to good riding weather. So I'll be out there. I'll
Don't
have to send you some video.
Please do. Don't beat yourself up after over that weight gain. In summer 2021, I think I was 215, and I got down to 184 by January of 2022. By summer of 2022, I went back to 219. I thought I had it. I was like, oh yeah, no, it'll come up and bite you right in the ass. So I
Yeah,
started the trek again, and I'm down to 185.8. So I'm still not even at my low.
you're looking great, man. Like I said,
Thank you, sir.
I can see some definition going on there. So
Thank you, sir. But my point is don't take the lesson. It is a teacher. You just pick up and start going again. And
yeah,
just you're gonna throw on a pound here, you're gonna throw on a pound there. That's fine. Don't spiral. Catch yourself. Go, okay, this sucks. Catch yourself. And then just get back to it. And just accept that it's not happening this month or this year. This is a multi-year thing. It's just part of your life now. And time will pass. And one day you look in the mirror and go, oh shit. It's a very slow process. It's a slow, methodical process that you just have to, don't even put an end date on it. Just say, this is what I do now. I do this now. I do this till I die. Just come to peace with that. Once you know there's no end date, it actually kind of gets easier because you're not looking for the end. You're just like, I do this now. That would
well,
be
I'm trying to get there by the by the time I turn 60 this year. So that's my goal to be there. But there's Mark Sisson, the guy who runs the daily Mark's Daily Apple, used to be the largest health blog in the world, but this guy's I mean, if you look up Mark Sisson, Sisson, he's in his 70s and the guy looks amazing.
Hell yeah.
But he's former marathoner, and he's the guy who came up with the primal blueprint. And but he's been a bit of an idol of mine. But he talks about, LGN is, the objective is, of course, in the comfort of your own home, is that you should LGN, look good naked. Right now I'm LSN, which is look scary naked, but that's
Hey,
just between me and my wife.
hey, you'll get there. Baby steps. Um, but Mike, I gotta meet with some other guys in a minute, so we gotta
All
wrap
right,
this one
brother.
up. Thank you for your time, man. Thank you for doing it on short notice. And as always, I love you, brother. Stay
Love
safe.
you.
Keep
Take care.
working, man. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get down there. You're gonna get down to
I'll be
LG.
there.
I
I'll be
got you.
there. Thanks you for the encouragement.
Yes, sir. God bless, brother.